All right. Welcome, everyone, to Get in Control of Your Time. I'm so excited to be doing this. And right before we hit record, so for those of you that are tuning in and watching this as a replay, I was just joking about starting on time because it's a time management workshop. So today we're going to talk all things time management. I'm going to give you some of my favorite tools that I use to keep myself organized and making things happen. So let's get right into it. I am going to work my screen if it works. So who am I? So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ashlee Livingstone. I'm an entrepreneur. And what that typically means is I am somebody who wears a lot of different hats, doing a lot of different things often. I am also a mom and a wife. I am a friend, a volunteer in my community, and I have a fairly busy schedule. And I really want all of us to think about all the different hats we're wearing and how busy fits into that, and hopefully eliminating the word busy from our lives. So, I what do I do? I actually am a leadership coach and team coach. I really love to work with leaders, and I define leaders as anyone who's leading at home, in your community, or also at work. I think sometimes we pigeonhole who is a leader, and ultimately, we all lead in some capacity. So I work with leaders who really want to be more intentional and conscious on how they are leading. Those leaders who want to lead a better way or really want to be the leader that they never had, the leader they wish they had, and just to show up differently. And I also want to work with people who are ready to get off that hamster wheel. So if you can picture that, you're constantly going, it's nonstop. You feel like you're moving from one thing to the next without fully being present or understanding why you're even doing what you're doing. These are the people that I work with. And also going in and working with their teams and helping their teams just function better, re-engage with one another. We've all become so disconnected, but working better together and really focusing on how they can just be smoother in their processes, focusing on time management, how to set boundaries as a team, really set goals and habits that are going to help them elevate the work that they're doing every day. And a big piece of that is also emotional intelligence and shifting your mindset. So, as you are participating today, if you're here live or if you're watching the replay, there's going to be things that pop into your head, maybe I can't do that, or I'm too busy for this. Pay attention to those little voices that are telling you stories and where we want to shift that mindset of how can I and what could this help make possible for me? That's a big piece of the work that I do. So, why do I know what I'm talking about? Why listen to me? It's probably a good question, but I've had so many years of managing multiple priorities, competing deadlines, several different projects for multiple different clients who all work in different ways. And I have really finessed my calendar. And the big tool that I'm going to talk about today is what helped set me free. It's what differentiated being an organized, detail oriented person to being an efficient, in control of my time, and able to get things done person. And for me, I know that I can go through my days and my weeks, not perfectly, because that's not what we're aiming for, but with more ease than not. And that has really given me the edge on just being more efficient. And as a business owner, being able to contribute to my community and be present with my family it's my version of having it all. And I think everyone's version is a little bit different, but for me, that's what I've been really focusing on. So let's get into it. I'd love for those of you who are here live, if you can put into the chat, how does time hold you back? What is your biggest struggle right now with time? I'd love to just hear from you a little bit about what's holding you back. And as you're putting those into the chat, I'll kind of talk about what mine was. So Kathy's saying not enough time. Oh, another not enough time. Time holds me hostage, overcommitment. Yes, all of these things. And I can absolutely resonate with all of that. I was very much one of those people who was always running late. I was late for everything. And I used it as a way to just be like, I'm busy. It was almost a badge of honor. Of course, I'm going to be late because I am such a busy person. And I didn't take time to pause and think about what that actually meant. But when I thought about time, I definitely thought I never had enough of it. So similar to many of you, that I wish I had more hours in my day. I absolutely, truly believed that I was not in control of my own time. I believed that my boss, my family, my son, my young son, that other people were actually more in control of my time than I was. Can anyone resonate with that way of thinking, that you believe, maybe not out loud, but you believe that somebody else is controlling your time? You know, your clients control your time, or your kids control your time, that you aren't truly in control. And once I realized that at the end of the day, I actually am the only person who can control my time, it was a really big eye opener, because when you realize it's up to you, that's when you have to take action for it. So I know this is also a big piece of what I work one-on-one with my clients on, is digging into these blocks and stories that we tell ourselves, and how we want to actually reshape it to form new habits, set boundaries, and go through our days with ease and confidence. Time management is one skill. And I really believe that a lot is wrapped up in that skill, but there is so much more to our beliefs and stories that we need to consider as you start kind of going through a personal development or trying to get in control. You know, also really thinking about how you can let go of busy as a way to show that you are valued. I used to always think, if I'm busy, it means I'm valuable. If I'm busy, I'm irreplaceable. That's not the case. That's a story. So how can you see your value and still have ease and space and capacity? Okay. So if time's not holding you back, what if instead you could feel a sense of freedom? I'd love for anyone else to put in the chat, how would you love to feel about time? If you could wave a magic wand. Oh, Kathy's saying lighter. I love that. Right? How would you love to feel going into your week, or when somebody asked you if you had capacity to take this on, or if you had the ability to go into something? Kelly says calm. That's great. I love feeling empowered myself. Brittany's saying confident. Love that. Renee's saying the ability to consistently spend time in areas that move the needle. Oh, that's great. That's kind of, for me, what I feel with empowered, is that I am taking steps, aligned action towards what I want. Calm. The big one is in control, right? I really personally love that feeling of being in control of my own time, understanding that I am the one who's in control of it. And I love being excited about it. So at the start of every week, taking a look ahead, or even at the start of your day and looking ahead at what's going on and looking at your calendar and being excited about what's coming up. You know, knowing that you might have plans with friends on the weekend, or you're volunteering somewhere, or you have work commitments, but feeling excited instead of this sense of, how am I going to get all of this done? Right? It really is a challenge to go through life constantly wondering, how am I going to get all of this done? I just
You.
feel like if somebody is not muted, if you don't mind just muting yourself. Thank you. All right. So that's what we want to do today, is shift from being out of time and not feeling in control of it to showing us how to have so much freedom, um, and be empowered and calm as you enter. Okay. But first, we have to face why we resist. This is, for me, always an interesting topic when I start working with my clients or chatting with people about new habits, or you want to take this on, you want to implement a new change, or you want to reach a new goal. And shockingly, one of the biggest things I hear from people, and maybe you can give me a thumbs up or, a hand raise if you might be guilty of this, is I don't have time to do that, right? I don't have time to create this new habit, or I don't have time to come to a time management workshop. I don't have time to, work out. I don't have time to do these things. We all have the same amount of time in a day. It's just how we prioritize it. Another reason I find that people resist change so much is that we believe that it's restrictive, that somehow we're going to be held back by a new habit. Even when I talk about boundaries, a lot of people think I'm going to be restricted in what I can do. Same with time management. But that's where we want to flip our mindset. Time management and having control over your calendar and how you're spending your time is actually a completely freeing way to tackle things. So let's go into this really thinking about, how can I open my mind and see what's possible? And then sometimes people are just not willing to try something new or a new approach. It can seem daunting, as Carrie mentioned here in the chat. It might make it seem like we're not doing something the right way. Again, these are stories and blocks that are standing in our way. We don't have to always take this all or nothing approach of, okay, Ashlee taught me this, now I have to do exactly her way. What we need to do is really pick and choose what's going to work for us and how we can implement it in our own lives, right? See what's working for other people, but be willing to adjust it so that it works for you and your family, or you and your team at work. And I think that, those boundaries or that restrictiveness is what we need to really look past and see where we can make it work for us instead of against us. Okay. So as we get into this, I'm going to talk to you about, there's a lot that goes into time management. And one of the biggest tools is what I want to share with you. This has been the piece, the habit that has really taken me from completely overwhelmed and never on time to 100% in control of my own time. And it's the art of time blocking. Now, I do dive in a lot deeper when I work on my one-on-one programs, or if I go into different businesses and I train them more fully on all aspects of time management. But this one habit of time blocking is such a great starting point for anyone who is looking for a bit more control or that calm and feeling empowered. Now, as you think about time blocking, I'm going to walk you through some key steps that you need to consider. And I beg you all, bear with me and keep an open mind. So, first, this is the most controversial thing I say in this webinar, anyway, that usually gets people immediately with their backs up thinking, oh, I don't know about this. Ditch your to-do list. Okay. How many of you, and you can even just like put it in the chat, or if you're watching the replay, just kind of nod to yourself. How many of you love to brag about your to-do list? We love a good to-do list. We love writing it down. We love crossing things off of the to-do list. It makes us feel like we're accomplishing things, just even crossing that to-do list off. And I have Renee saying I refuse to ditch it. All right, Renee, we're going to talk about this. So here's the challenge with the to-do list and why I believe that your to-do list creates overwhelm in your mind. Whenever you write out a to-do list, it starts, but there is no finish to your to-do list. It never ends. So you might be crossing things off as you go, but you are always adding things on to the bottom. Your to-do list continues to grow. And if you are going to several meetings in a day, or your kids go back to school, and then they come home with all these dates and things that they have to do, they make a team, or they're in art class, music, whatever, your to-do list just keeps growing. Now, the challenge with your to-do list, in addition to it always growing, is that there is no time associated with how long those tasks take you. So when you look at it, your brain sees a giant list. It already starts to get overwhelmed because you immediately think, I have to do all of this right now because it's to do. It doesn't say to do at some point. It says to do. It tells you, I need to do this. And then you look at the giant list and you think, whew, that's a lot I need to do. And it doesn't give you any sense of how long will this take you. Do you have 10 30-second tasks? Or do you have 15-hour-long tasks? It's very different when it comes to your time. Carrie said overwhelming. Absolutely, it's overwhelming, right? So instead of a to-do list, okay, Renee, instead of a to-do list, we'll call it your brain dump list. Okay, you still want to put it down on paper. I get that. The art and the act of writing something out, I know that can be really beneficial to get it out of your head and onto paper. But the next step that you're going to do is then take what's on that brain dump list and build everything directly into your calendar. So this is the time blocking piece. Everything goes into your calendar. The act of setting very specific time in your calendar helps you figure out how long things are going to take you and how much time you actually have to do those things. So for instance, you have a meeting to go to. So let's talk about work. Somebody books a meeting with you and they send you that meeting invite. That's great, right? It just shows up there in your calendar. And the challenge is that if you don't block time before the meeting to prepare, or you don't necessarily have time after the meeting to work on those action steps or the results that come out of the meeting or any follow-up you need to do, you tend to fall behind or it just goes somewhere and now it's in your head. So building everything into the meeting, I know a lot of us are still doing virtual meetings, which in some cases you're like, fantastic, I can get more meetings in. However, we're not taking the time to go grab ourselves some food or even run to the washroom. I know personally, I have logged on to several meetings and people have said to me, I'm really sorry, but I have not gone to the washroom all day. Can I come back in 2 minutes? I know I have done that to people, right? Or you're sitting there eating your lunch or eating some food in between meetings because, or as the meeting's starting, because you haven't had any buffer time. I've also seen where leaders go into a meeting completely unprepared. And now they're distracted because they're on their computer at the same time, trying to look up their notes or understand what they're supposed to be meeting about. So not having that time blocked to prepare for the meeting, or afterwards, you have all of these brain dump notes of action items you need to do to then plot it into your calendar and putting it in there so that you know what needs to be done and when. Again, when we have a to-do list, it doesn't really even tell us when due dates are or when there's deadlines. When you put it directly into your calendar, it shows up there. Okay. Another mistake that we often make is that we don't necessarily plot time in our calendars to work on projects. So for instance, even this webinar, okay? I know this content inside and out, but that said, I still have work to do to get to this point. So there's time to create my PowerPoint deck. I have to plan time for me to do that. Reaching out to people, plan time for me to do that. Follow up afterwards with people. All of that gets put into my calendar so that when I'm going through my days, my weeks, my months, future me is taken care of. And I can just rest assured knowing that anything that's come up, it has a home, it has some time plotted out in my calendar, it's taken care of. It no longer lives up here where all the busy noise is, it's taken care of. And it really helps me figure out how long things take. So what do I need to do? How long does it take? Where do I maybe need to add more time? And for those who, are also managing or leaders at home, and you might be, running to volunteer commitments, or you're dropping your kids off at whatever activity they might be going to, or maybe you're taking care of your parents, whatever it is, you not building in travel time. For me, that was my biggest aha when I realized I was late to everything. It was because I just thought that I was going to blink 3 times and show up there. That doesn't happen. Shocker. And depending on where you are, if you live in a city and you're stuck in traffic, right, you have to plan for that travel time as well. That to me was why I was always late. I did not plan getting to the meeting. The meeting was in my calendar, but getting there was not. And then getting to my next meeting was also not. So when you're 15 minutes behind on everything, it just creates that snowball, that panic attack of I'm late for everything and you can't catch up. So really take the time to block it in your calendar, all the little steps. And at first, the more detailed you can be, the better. And it seems a lot at first, like you're kind of blocking every little thing, but trust me, it helps you not even have to think about it anymore. Those little reminders that just pop up and say, hey, you're supposed to be going to Ashlee's webinar in 1 hour. It's right there for you, right? Just popping up. So help your future self out. Your calendar is your best friend. So here's the other piece, the second controversial piece of advice that I give here. Use your online calendar. So in addition to ditching your to-do list, ditch your paper calendar. Pause for the shock and awe for all the people who don't want to do that. Your paper calendar might be great. Again, you like writing things out. I get it. But your online calendar syncs with everything. We have that technology, right? On my phone, I have my calendar. It syncs with my computer calendar. I have a family calendar that I can add in, and we can all see everybody's everything. We know who's working when, what kid has to be dropped off where, who's in meetings, who's away at a conference. Build it into your online calendar. And so Renee's asking, do I use Apple Calendar or Google? I actually use Outlook, and it syncs in with my Apple phone. So I can actually have it all work together. So I do it all on my Apple. Now, what I find is that I'll be out somewhere, maybe picking up my son from school, and somebody will call and ask if they can book a meeting with me, or do I have time to do this? Or somebody, one of the other parents will say something, and I can open my calendar right away and look and say, yes, I have capacity, or no, I do not have capacity. It's that simple. And my wife can send me a message and say, hey, do we have plans on Thursday? She also could click on the link and look because she has access to the calendars. But I can look and say, actually, yeah, we have a lot going on Thursday. It's not going to happen. Or Saturday, it's not going to happen. We can't add something else in. Or if we do want to add something else in, what are we going to move? So you have those conversations. It really stops me, again, from overcommitting myself, because I can look at the time blocks that are in there and I can say, I don't see how we can get to all three of these things and still enjoy it and have that ease and joy and being present. When you have it on a paper calendar, this is where your brain also plays tricks on you. You write it down and it's there. And if you need to move something, you're having to scratch it out or erase it. I used to have arrows that were like, oh, now it's not happening here. Draw an arrow down to the next day that it's happening. And being able to easily see what needs to be moved. And it's so much cleaner. So for those of you who are very visual and don't want to see a lot of scratch marks and arrows and it looks confusing, an online calendar is fantastic for that. It goes everywhere with you. It syncs to everything. And it is so simple to add and delete or move things. And if you have someone techie, they can show you how to make it a family calendar and everyone can see. And it's really quite seamless. The next big piece of advice, be realistic. How many of you truly believe that you can be in 3 places at once? Totally guilty at one point of that. We can't, and it's not fun to try and be in 3 places at once. And when we don't truly know how long something takes us, we often make this mistake of overscheduling, underestimating how long something's going to take. I know that I often will find myself making this mistake when it comes to getting ready. Yes, Renee, double booked yourself. That's fine. You can watch the rest of this later. But even getting ready in the morning, like, I don't know if anyone can see this, but I have a lot of hair. This does not happen in like 2 minutes. And when I don't give myself enough time in the morning to get ready, I am late. I have to build it into my calendar. I just do. Taking my son to school is something I love doing all the time, but I know exactly how long it takes me to walk from my house to his school and back again, even at a fast pace. I know how long it's going to take me. And anytime I think I'm going to do it in 5 minutes, that's a laugh. It's not happening. So be realistic about how much time things are taking you. This is another piece why that to-do list is so misleading and so challenging to work with, because it does not account for your time. It just shows you actions that need to happen. So be realistic. And if you're going to spend an hour answering emails, put it into your calendar, block it, and then leave it. If you have phone calls to make, put it in your calendar, but put an appropriate amount of time. How many of you have said, I'm just going to make a 5-minute phone call? It's not going to take any time at all. And then an hour later, you're still chatting. It happens. Be realistic. The only person that you're disappointing is yourself when you don't hit those time goals. Okay. Driving to drop your kids off somewhere or driving to the meeting, build in a realistic amount of time. Okay. This is what's really going to help you. And over time, as you're working on certain projects, even again, preparing for the webinar, I might have at first built way more time into my calendar because it was a newer activity for me. But over time, I can shave that down. Or I might say to myself, no, 100%, this is a 3-hour task. And then I block 3 hours. And if I try and do it in half an hour, it's just not going to happen. So the more you get used to doing this and understanding how long certain projects at work or prepping for dinner or whatever it is, however long it's actually going to take you, build that time into your calendar so that you can be realistic on what you have capacity to take on, or gives you that choice so you are in control of what you need to release and reschedule, right? You get that choice, right? I really want to do this instead. So I'm going to do this and I'm going to move this other project to a different day. Okay. When you start to see meeting back to back to back to back, that's a good time for you to say, what needs to shift here? What do I need to put into place so that I'm not constantly going back to back to back here? And I think the other piece with being realistic is understanding how you are truly spending your time now. Okay. There are things throughout our day, there are distractions that pop up, like social media. Anyone guilty of losing time on social media? Right? Definitely me. I saw some hands go up there. Thank you. Thank you, people, for telling the truth. Social media is a time suck. It's built that way. So if you are going to go on social media and spend time on it, why not just block it? And now you don't feel guilty for doing it. You give yourself a limit. You're going to do it anyway, right? So just block the time and then walk away. Even checking emails. I could check my emails all day long and not move anything else forward. I could spend all day just in my inbox. So I set a time limit on how many times a day and for how long I'm actually going to check my emails. Outside of that time, not checking my emails. And I have actually disabled any sort of email notification. I don't get a little pop-up that says, you've got mail. I don't get a notification on my phone when somebody responds to something on Instagram or Facebook. I have turned off all notifications because realistically, I know I will be sucked into the vortex. So be realistic about what is sucking your time and where you need to put some boundaries in place for yourself, or build it into your calendar so that it's already there for you. If your nighttime routine is you're going to put your kids to bed and then you're going to sit on the couch, watch TV, and surf socials, have at, right? But again, set a boundary so that when you start your going to bed routine, right, your end of day routine, you can. When you start to go down that rabbit hole of a ton of time in certain areas, right? Just you want to understand really where you're spending your time and what's sucking your time. If school pickup is one of those places where you get trapped by that parent who's just going to keep talking to you over and over and wanting to like compare notes, like tell your kid to meet you at the different tree and make a beeline for it. Okay, we are in control of this. If you don't have the capacity to spend an hour at school pickup, don't. But you have to know where you're spending your time. All right, plan each week. So every Sunday, it doesn't have to be on Sunday if that's not your day, but I start on Sundays because to me, that's the start of the week. I sit down, I look at what's up for the week ahead. I sync it up with my family's calendar. I also plan where I need to be and who needs to help out. So do I need to call in a grandparent for support to help me get where we need to be because I actually can't be in 3 places at once? Do I need to, prearrange meals somewhere? I do like to write out my meals for the week. This is a me thing. I'm not sure that this is for everyone, but pre-planning what we're going to eat every day helps me. And helps my family because I realized in the point above about being realistic, when I'm hungry and I'm tired, I cannot come up with meal ideas. And we end up eating scrambled eggs all the time. So I need to pre-plan my meals because that is a time save for me. Knowing that we have the right food in the house, the groceries, it's all there. I don't have to think about it. It makes it so much easier and I can be a lot calmer going into dinner time. I don't have to think about it because I've already done it. Yes, Kathy, what are we having for dinner? I have it on a whiteboard actually. So that's a great point. It says Monday to Friday, what we're having so that my kid can freak out on Monday about what we're having on Thursday. It's really a great tactic. And he has a lot of time to prepare himself for the disgusting meal that I'm going to feed him on Thursday. So, but it takes the thinking out of it. I also can then look at my week and say, oh, Tuesday's looking like a jammed up day. Do I think I can handle that? Or do I need to make some shifts now? Right? It gives me the choice to say, I've really put a lot into this day. What do I need to change? Or what do I need to do for myself? So extra sleep the night before, making sure that I really exercise, drink my water. What do I need to do so that I can manage and still be empowered in this day, as opposed to, oh, this happened to me, right? It's that mindset shift. So going into it, and then I communicate it with my family. We are all doing this together. Okay, here's what it looks like. Here's who's going where. We've got this, and we're all on board. Okay. And the last piece that I do with the time blocking is I review each night before I go to bed. So I'll take a look at what's coming up again the next day. Did anything new get added in? Did something get deleted, right? Sometimes meetings get deleted and it's like, ooh, I have an extra hour. But I also think about how did I feel? How am I feeling at the end of this day? What worked? What didn't work? Where did I overcommit or underestimate? Why am I feeling rushed? Even though it looks like I have a lot of time, maybe it was a lot of high activity, high energy activities that I built into one day. What do I need to switch up or keep for the next day? And just having that nightly review helps me go into the next day, and helps me sleep better at night, knowing I know what's going on. I'm good. Right. And just that check in is so, so helpful for me. All right. I know we have just about 20 minutes left, so I'm going to um, start to wrap up and see if anyone has any questions um, now that I can answer for anyone before I kind of move on. Does anyone have any, this doesn't make any sense, or any questions? You can unmute or put it in the chat and just read it from there. No, Harlan's giving me thumbs up. That's good. I think the biggest piece to this, and it takes practice. It seems um, it seems straightforward, but really truly sitting down and looking at your calendar and plopping time out to do all the things. And I really love to put everything in my calendar. So I'll show you what it looks like on my calendar. So a little sneak peek in mine. Yeah, so Harlan's saying he has one calendar, not multiple. So this is what my calendar looks like. You'll notice I didn't build in a ton of time. So I'm being honest as well. I'm showing up truth. So there's color coding as well. You don't have to be as anal, but there are different calendars that I share with different people. So everything green is my work, and my work team can see this. The blue is what I share with my entire family, and the beige peachy one is just for me. So I have it in there. 6 a.m. I'm waking up. I start my morning routine at 6 a.m. And it usually consists of, yes, I have to remind myself to wake up, breath work, and exercise. Okay, that's what I'm doing. So that when I wake up at 6 a.m. going, oh, I don't want to get up, it's like, no, this is what you've committed to. It's right here, and you've got an hour to do it. Right? My family tends to wake up around 7:30. So we're getting them up, we're having breakfast, and we're getting out of the door. By 8:30, I know I need to walk to school. And this is when the bell rings. And this is shared, right? So that if I'm not here to do it because I'm away or I've got another meeting, the other people in my family know how to still get out of the door, right? I am not irreplaceable. Other people can do this. I check my emails for half an hour, right? I'm going to be on social media. It's right there, built it in. Here's my check-ins on my project management tools, have a meeting, got my webinar. So all of these things are built in. And then by 3:00, like, I'm stopped work because I'm going to go pick up my kid and then walk home as well. And I can usually get in another meeting at like 4:00 if I need to. So this is how specific it can get, right? And if you have different things going on, or if you need to extend it into the evening, do that. Make it work for you. And if other people have to do pickup or different things like that, just put it in your calendar. A nice little reminder that pops up. And again, at 2:45, a reminder will pop up that's going to say, you have to go get your kid. So, right? So many of us have probably fallen victim to just working right through things. And then all of a sudden, you've lost complete track of time. So use those reminders and alerts to help you out. Okay. So I see this, I know, again, with that mindset shift, I see this as total, complete control of my calendar. I feel like I look at this and I think, thank you, past Ashlee, for taking care of this. I did myself a favor. I do not feel rushed or stressed or wondering how I'm going to get it all done because I have built in the time to have capacity to do it, right? Uh, okay. So if you're looking to get in touch um, or find out more about how I can do this, feel free to reach out to me. I absolutely love, obviously, you can probably tell, talking about this. I find it to be such an empowering tool. One of my favorite things to do is work with teams. So if you're sitting here and you're like, oh, my boss or my team needs to hear this, reach out to me. There's lots of different ways to reach out to me. You can send me a note, reach out to me, and I would happily talk to your team. I do this training all the time for groups of people who need to be aligned, right? It's only so good if one person has time management skills and does time um, blocking, but no one else in the organization does. If we can get a team working together, this hands-on work that I do is great. It also, the implementation piece. So if you're, again, listening, thinking, I do not have time to start this, or I don't know where to start, that's a great signal that you need to reach out to me one-on-one, and I can guide you through that. It is one of the things that has really changed my life and made everything so much more manageable. And it's one step towards really truly being able to set goals for yourself, follow through on them, and shift your mindset from being busy and overwhelmed to being completely calm, empowered, and in control of what you want to achieve. So that's it for me. Thank you, everyone. And for those that have tuned in to the replay, I hope that you have gotten a lot of great value out of this. And at any point, reach out, and I'm always happy to chat. Thanks, everyone.